This is Film Class Week 7, Part 6. Um, some of the songs in The Wizard of Oz have very fun wordplay. My students, it's hard. You have to watch the movie a couple times. You gotta put subtitles on. And also, even still, my students don't always spend a lot of time with words, and so wordplay sometimes slips by them. But there's some fun stuff, in particularly in the Cowardly Lion songs. He has some very good. So, for example, prowess, which means power. The Cowardly Lion rhymes prowess with mouse, like a mouse. He's comparing. He's not going to be scared of a mouse because he has prowess. Prowess and mouse don't exactly rhyme, but they kind of rhyme in a fun way because he has to mispronounce them to get there. Prowess, mouse. It's cute. He also refers to himself at one point as a dandelion, which is a joke because there's a kind of plant called a dandelion. But a dandy is sort of a fashionable, effeminate man. And he says he doesn't want to be a dandelion anymore because he'd be like a dandy who is a lion, not the plant called dandelion. So there's again, it's a little nod to his effeminacy, his lack of masculinity, if you want to put it that way. Anyway, the songs have some kind of cute things in them. Okay, so I mentioned they get to Oz. And by the way, the movie has a very simple structure. Act 1 is the farm. Act 2 is the journey to the Emerald City, and Act 3 is the wizard sends them on a quest to get the witch's broom. That's the whole film. Very, very simple structure. It's a simple movie. And actually, to speak to the simplicity for a hot second, one of the things in terms of set design that's worth pointing out, it's the kind of thing that students knee-jerk, they don't like it. They see it, they don't like it. But there's something, you have to kind of change the wiring in your brain a little bit to enjoy it. And it's it's not a bug, it's a feature. It's not something bad, it's actually good. One of the things I love about The Wizard of Oz is it looks fake. When they go, hey, there's the Emerald City, let's go, and they walk toward it, they're obviously the actors are walking toward a giant painting. If the camera kept rolling, they would smack right into it. It's a drawing of a road. It's a painting of a city. And they're like, hey, there's a city, let's go. And students are like, oh, this is low budget, or they don't have special effects. But I don't think it would be better with special effects. I think it's good. It's cute that way because it feels like you're in a storybook. Like a big book for kids with these big, beautiful pages, and you turn the pages. It's lovely. It's like a lovely, beautiful little effect. But you have to. The thing about watching old movies is you got to rewire your brain a little bit to appreciate them. Yes, the body count in The Shining is not like a modern horror movie. Yes, normally, if they were making Rear Window today, the first thing you would see was Torvald's wife getting stabbed with an ice pick. I don't think it makes it better necessarily. It's just different from what you're used to, and it takes some getting used to. And The Wizard of Oz is one of those movies that you got to kind of change your brain a little bit to kind of get into it. Notice, by the way, that Dorothy doesn't have a lot of money in the farm, and the farm is not doing great money-wise. Not only are there ruby slippers, and by the way, notice the symbols of power. It's feminine. They're slippers. They're women's shoes are the object of power. Normally in these movies, people are going after magic swords or whatever, like in fucking Aquaman. Or is it a sword or a trident or whatever? Anyway, it's for poking things with like a penis. But in this movie, the object of power is feminine. It's beautiful ruby slippers. It's these lovely feminine shoes. Because this is a movie about female power. So just as the farm didn't have a ton of money, notice that the Land of Oz, when they get to Emerald City, when they get there, no one does any work. They laugh and play all day. The song says, I'm gonna mess the. They're up at 12. They're up at 12, and at 1 they go to lunch, and then they're done at 2. Up at 12, get to work at 1, take a lunch break for an hour, and then they're done at 2. Well, if you do the math on that, that means they don't do any work at all. The Emerald City is just a place of play. It's just a place to play and have fun. It seems like they spend all day getting massages and getting things put in their hair and their dresses fixed and everything. And it's pampered rich people. It's like District 1. Actually, that's a fucking great paper. Write that paper. Wizard of Oz and Hunger Games. How is District 1 similar and dissimilar to the Land of Oz? The same kind of artificiality, right? The weird hair, the weird costumes. But it's a place where they get up at 12 and they go to work at 1, have lunch for an hour, and then they're done at 2. So like it's a very they don't do any work at all. It's a place of play, which is of course the opposite of Dorothy's life, where her whole family is seen working. Right, they're working the pigs, they're working the chickens. They're not. Nobody's being lazy on that farm. You can't be when you have that much money and you got to work the farm all day. Um, okay, and also to go to some other things about masculinity too. It's interesting. Notice that the lion has a big song about how he wants to be king. He's going to be king of the jungle because the lion is famously called the king of the jungle. Um, but he raps it, and he does this whole speech about he's going to be king. It's interesting that the speech he says specifically, "I will be king, not queen, not prince." Like the prince is the child, the queen is the woman. He wants to be a king, and he will not. It's a and he's a parody of a king. He's masculine. In this, he wants to be masculine. He wants that masculine power. He thinks the courage is going to make him into a man. But he dresses himself like a parody of a king. Instead of having a cape, he puts on a rug. Instead of having a crown, they use a broken flower pot. Well, rugs and flower pots are traditionally symbols of the sort of feminine sphere, the home, domestic. Taking care of a garden and cleaning rugs is women's work. And so it's interesting that those are the symbols that he uses to be like, I am a man. I will get this courage. I'm more interested in the Cowardly Lion than in the other two, who I don't care about as much. Okay. But it's just interesting in a world of feminine power that's what he wants. The crucial thing about Act 2 is that the characters have internal problems. The problems are in here, right? It's not like they're not looking to survive. They're not looking for tools. They don't need to win a war. They don't need a more powerful weapon. They don't need a flash drive full of information that will save the planet. They have internal problems. The Scarecrow needs a brain, that's in here, and the Tin Man needs a heart in here, and the Lion needs courage, also internal. Dorothy wants to go home, but that's not a thing you can buy. They had internal. She's not where she should be. Those are in, and remember, why does Dorothy's problem about being away from home? Don't forget, the whole song "Somewhere Over the Rainbow" is about how she wants to run away from home, and then in the story, Act 1 is she wants to run away from home, and she does, and then she feels bad, and she realizes she needs to go home, and she goes home. Act 2 repeats that. She gets all the way to Oz, and what does she want to do? She wants to go home, and the whole thing is, how do I get home? I'm going to go to the wizard. He's going to send me home. It's the same story you saw in Act 1 repeated in Act 2. There's no place like home. There's no place like home. The characters have internal problems, but what they're doing, the mistake in Act 2, is they want someone else to fix them. A man. They want a powerful man to fix all their problems. Interestingly, by the way, please notice, this movie does not end with the man solving their problems, nor does it end with a woman solving all their problems. It ends by showing that they actually, can solve their own problems. They have to do things in here to make it better. No one's going to fix it for them from the outside. It's about in here. This mirrors the idea of there's no place like home. You got to go home, go where you came from. But also there's a kind of just be yourself thing to it. But we'll get to that. All right, and then they go and they meet the wizard, who, again, like the Cowardly Lion, is big and blustering and ridiculous. Please notice, we've seen Blue Velvet now. Please notice that the wizard has, this is an exaggeration, I feel ridiculous about this, but please notice that David Lynch loves smoke, he loves curtains, he loves fire, he loves big, blustery men who are pretending to be a big deal when they're probably not. All those things are in the wizard. The Wizard of Oz has all of those kinds of qualities. So they go, and the wizard sends them on a quest. And Act 3 is an external quest. Get me this broom. Right? He doesn't tell them to go to therapy and think about what's in your heart. He tells them, I'm going to send you on a mission. Go quest for the thing. Get the broom from the witch. This is a fairy tale thing that's worth talking about a little bit. I don't want to overdo it, but there's this thing called the internalization of quest romance. And it's the idea is that in old stories, when the knight in shining armor has to go get the Holy Grail, and he fights dragons, that whole thing is a metaphor for doing internal spiritual work. You got to slay the dragons in here. You got to quest for something in your heart, so that you little kids think they're reading a story about an external quest for an object. But then as adults, you realize, oh, this is a story about the quest for yourself to kind of be at home in here. And this movie very much does that kind of work because it is both about an external quest, get that fucking broom, and about an internal quest. Be yourself. You're okay in here. Home is, you don't need to go anywhere. Home is the right place. All right, I'll pick that up in the next video. This is fun. I'm having fun. Wizard of Oz is a great movie. I don't know why I was talking like that before. I apologize. Wizard of Oz is cool.